What's up, everybody? It is a new episode of your favorite podcast. That is the MLO Project. And joining me is my co-host, Mr. McAllister. Michael, what's up, pretty?
What's up, dude? Pretty boy, pretty girl.
What's up, pretty boy?
What's up?
What's up,
What's
handsome
up?
Dan?
What's up, dude? I really like your glow-in-the-dark microphone that you have there.
I like it too. I'm getting compliments on it, so you know what? I'm good with it. And
It's
you know,
different.
it's different, right? So I'm not wearing the hat today, but it is different. And it's just like those things you get for your kids. For those of you that have kids, you know, you put them on the wall, those little stickers, or put them on the ceiling, you know, turn out the lights and you got little stars and moons and planets and everything else. It's right in there. But it's always be branding. Lime green is the part of the different brands. So I am flaunting it all over the place. And we got a spicy episode today, buddy. Spicy. That's 3 snaps in a circle, or what was it, like 2 snaps in a circle, Z formation? You remember that, Living Color? Or is that
No, I mean like that is, as you describe it, I'm like, oh, that is kind of how you do it, huh? But no, I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, that's right. He's just a young buck, and he's a young buck that just had a birthday. So Michael had asked me to make sure that you guys all knew that it was his birthday and that he is taking all birthday greetings, even if they are belated. DMs, emails, letters, cards.
Phone calls are my favorite.
Phone calls are his absolute favorite. Early morning phone calls, happy birthday songs. So all of that is coming his way. So look, this is one of those grinding my gears types episodes. As this recording I posted based off of just based off a conversation I had or listened to is a better way to say it. But as we get into the new world, the new economy, the new era, whatever, however you want to define it, it's 2026. And there's 2 things, right? I already told Michael about one kind of like pre-call, but I'm going to hit him with the other one too. But there's 2 things. One is, guys, just excuses, right? Like, just get him the F out of here, right? Stop with the freaking excuses. Either you want to or you don't. It's really that simple. And the 2 ones that I hear the most that actually drive me nuts, one drives me more nuts than any of them, but the other one, I think, is just a framing issue. And one is, I'm not techie, right? And we're going to get into a little deeper to that. Like, I'm not techie. And the second one is, I have ADHD, blah, 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 blah. And both of those are always framed as a freaking excuse of why you can't do something or whatever. But here's what I'll tell you. That without fail, the top of the top, cream of the crop producers that I know all have ADHD, right? Every single one of them without fail, right? So that's one. Throw that one right in the trash where it belongs with the other excuses, because that is not an excuse. Oh, well, no, this and that. No, you're absolutely that unique unicorn that has it worse than everyone else. You know, you with the 27 other loan officers I talked to today that said the exact same damn thing, right? No, and then the big one is, I'm not techie, right? Which drives me nuts because it's always used on like simple shit. Like, I'm not talking about like, hey, I get it if I'm like, hey, can you create that pivot table in the Excel spreadsheet and, formulas and stuff like that? Oh, no, I'm not kind of techie, so this is hard. Get that. But like logging into a platform, right? Like username, password, logging in, watching a freaking video, or all these things that aren't tech. It's technology. Like, you got to understand, I'm not techie means like, I'm not an engineer. I'm not building an app. Like, I don't know how to reconfigure stuff. I don't know how to build automations or workflows. Like, I get those things from a techie standpoint, but it's like technology. Like, do you have an LOS? Then you're a techie, right? Do you use a POS? Right? Yeah. Then you're a techie. Right? Does your car have Apple Play in it and you've managed to figure out how to use the GPS, right? And you've managed to put on your playlist, right? Then you're a techie. Do you have an Android or an iPhone and you're able to like turn it on and use it? Then you're a freaking techie. So stop using it as a damn excuse. And it's just, and here's the thing, excuses get you nowhere in this new economy. And if you're sitting there when you're and you're doing this, like you're volunteering this before we even get into the meat of the conversation of, I'm not techie, ADHDs, I can't do this, I can't do that, then here's my advice. Just pack it up. Because guess what? Technology is not going backwards for you, right? It's going forward. And because your only other choice is this. And here's what I'll say. Like, if you're like really like, no, because I've had to train people how to use a freaking mouse, right? So like, I'm just going to take you how far back I go with actually like not being techie, right? How to use a computer because they never had one at home, never used a mouse in their life, right? and they're like a 50-year-old transitional worker, right? Like I've been in that exact same environment, right? Like that's not an easy train right there, right? But here's what I'm going to tell you is that if you're like, I'm a sales guy, I like make the phone rings, I go out and fantastic. Then what you need to do is hire somebody to do that stuff for you. Right. So those are your choices. You can't.
And if you don't make enough money to do that, then you probably need to go like find a trade to work in because you're in trouble. Like you're in trouble.
Oh yeah, you're in absolute trouble. So like, so it's one of those things. You cannot like use that as a fallback anymore. So Mike, I want to get your opinion on all of that, the ADHD and the the I'm not techie excuse for not being able to do shit.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to go ham on the ADHD one, but before we do it, we were joking earlier before we got started. I picture when you talk about this with like people in this economy saying I'm not techie and using that as an excuse to not adopt the tools that are going to help them grow their business. I picture like early like Neanderthal days sitting. That somebody discovers fire or the wheel or something, and you see and you have the guy in the corner like freezing his ass off all alone. Like I'm not techie. Like I'm not, I'm not a fire guy. I'm not a wheel guy, right? Like I'm not techie. Like that's
not taking off. Fire's a fad. It's a trend.
Yes, right? Exactly. Like no, I'm more of a hunter. Like it's like. That doesn't mean anything at this point. Like at this point, you're just putting a stake in the ground that says like, I don't adapt and those who don't adapt die. And we know that. And so that's pretty much all I want to say about that. The ADHD side though, what's funny about this to me is that I have never felt more in my life than I have the last 3 to 6 months that ADHD is like my strongest superpower. Mm-hmm. Like with where tech is, with what AI allows you to do, now the combination of putting the stake in the ground, saying that you're not techie and you have ADHD, well, then you're probably screwed. But like if you remove that barrier, that technology barrier, and you lean into the fact that you're ADHD, like you have never been more capable of balancing more shit in your life than you are today because of AI, because of technology, because of full-blown memory systems that exist for you to help you balance all of these different things. And like I just as an example for the techie people that are listening to this, I have 5 OpenClaw bots that I use, that I manage. Like I have one that's like my orchestrator. I have one that is an expert on high level and does high level implementation stuff for us. I have one that manages our back end, our proprietary like back end agency management software that we use. I have another one that is like the product owner for Broker Toolkit. Like I have so much shit going on. We have 4 employees. I have more AI bots than I do employees right now. And like that, like ADHD is what allows me to freaking keep that going. It basically, I'm bouncing like, oh, boom, got to get this bot working on this, got to get this bot working on this. Now, I'm not saying that that's like what you should aspire to by any means. I'm sure that I can optimize this further. There still is the idea of like, hey, our brains can only focus on one thing at a time, technically. Like, but again, I have never felt more like that is not only no longer a limitation, but it's a freaking superpower than I have today. And so if that is your excuse, and we had somebody recently that like, she told me she had a mental she told me she had a mental disability. She said, like, I really hope that your training makes it easier for me. Like, I don't want to sign up for, cause we have we have our training modules inside of HL4, right? And so she's asking if I think that those are going to be good for her. I, tried to encourage her like, hey, if you really need the help, then come on board with Empower. But if not, we have all this training and stuff for you. She's like, well, yeah, but I have a mental disability. And I let her I just let that go and just kind of like, well, hey, I like whatever it is, I'm sure that this, it took another 5 minutes going back and forth before she said that that's like her mental disability was severe ADHD. And like, it was a combination of frustration and like heartache at the same time of like, who in the world taught you that this was a fucking disability? And I
Yep.
feel like
Yep.
anybody that uses that as an excuse is falling into that. Like, that may be extreme to somebody that's listening to this, but if you've used it as an excuse, if you've used ADHD as an excuse not to perform, then like you're in that same camp as far as I'm concerned. Like, you're basically saying that this is a disability that you have, and I just don't buy that shit. I'm sorry. Like, I've known a lot of people in my life. Frazier's known a lot of people in his life. Like, I have a brother who's on the spectrum. Frazier, you've got your, Frazier's got his son. Like we know what like an actual impairment due to mental capacity like looks like.
Yep. Yep.
And ADHD is not in that
No.
conversation.
No. It's to me, it's up there with like time blindness. I don't know if you ever saw that video when that was popping around where someone's like, I have time blindness, which is like where you just can't be on time. Right. People are like, no, that's a real no, guys, come on. Right. Like, stop. And ADHD, like if that's, so you're nicer to me. Cause like when they said, oh, I have a mental disability and say it's severe, it's like, seriously. Right. I'm pretty bad right now. I know that I could probably, make it better with medicine and shit like that. But I'm not big on taking pills and things of that nature. So what I did, because I don't want to do the one thing that I know will probably help it a little bit. And again, this is where, when you grow up and decide, and guys, like, I don't want you to take, like me not calling you an adult or whatever. What I'm saying, just in my mind, is that when you're like, decide to grow up and become an adult and you don't have like any backstop of like your parent, you know what I mean? Like you're taking care of your family and stuff like that. Like when you're in the real world shit, right? Like you got to figure it out. Like either you're going to, like I said, hire someone or you take medication, or for me, it's like, I had through coaching and through getting frameworks and discipline and trying to figure out how to do, like, for example, some people know, but not people know, but I have a speech impediment, right? So like that comes through in a lot of different ways, R's and L's and stuff like that, which some people are like, well, I kind of do that. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. Like the way that my brain works and the way that I talk, I will confuse words and letters and things of that nature when it comes out if I don't properly think about it before I speak. So every single sentence you hear me say, I have a mini framework in my head before everything that I say so that it actually comes through. And so I have a speech impediment. So like that is something I have to deal with, right? And then ADHD, the stuff like that. And so you can't use those things as a freaking crutch because like it's never ending. There's always a crutch. There's always a reason why. But unfortunately, for you out there, that if you are using these things as crutches, is the fact that you have so many other examples of people that have either that same affliction or 10 times worse that are doing more with less. And so, and that's just a fact. And so you could tell yourself all you want. You could lie to yourself all you want. You can create all the excuses you want. But at the end of the day, that's your excuse. That's your reason. Like, I am not going to show you any empathy at all about that. Right. Like, or I guess sympathy would be the proper way of saying that, not empathy, right? I can get it. I understand it. But like, there's too many people out there that are doing more with less. And you were just using it as excuse. Now, here's the thing. Now, if it was, and I don't want, look, some people are already going to check out on what I said because they're like, it's too heavy handed. It's too like in your face. I get it. Right. But here's what I'll say is that it's one thing if you're saying, look, I suffer from these issues or these and they absolutely cause problems. So I don't want you guys to mistake what we're saying, like, mostly what I'm saying, but like, it's not like we get it, but at the same
attitude
time,
has to be, and
exactly. Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
And so what? Like, yes, I have these things, and like, here's what I do about it. Like, you can't, because like you've said, like, at the end of the day, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody, like you could have, even if you do have our sympathy, even if you have the sympathy of every person you ever freaking meet in your life. This is how I talk to my kids about this, is like, no matter what, like, even if everybody's like, dude, I totally understand. I'm like, you're right. You're right to feel like you're limited. You're right to feel like you are justified and not getting up, getting your ass out of bed, doing the things that you need to do. You're right. Like, okay, what the fuck did that give you? Like, what did that give you other than that, like, mental, like, pat on the back that you were like longing for. Great. Yeah. And what? And what? Like, you still have to live your life. You still have people that depend on you. You still have, like, you still are going to have depression and anxiety if you don't take care of the shit that you know you need to take care of. Like, the attitude has to be, yeah, and like, and what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, so like, and that's what I was going to say, just more in a more different way, is that it's one thing if you came to me or Michael and you're talking to us and you're like, yeah, like these things have really caused me challenges. Right. And so, and like Michael said, and what, but it's also a step further is that like, if you're saying these things cause me challenges and then, but I still want to do all these things, but because of these challenges, I'm not doing any of the things, right? Like you have to change. If you want what you want with what you got and you're not willing to change, then you're going to get what you always got, right? Like it's just that simple. And so now if you came to us and said like, I have these challenges, but like, I still want to work and get these things. And so like, I just wanted you to know so that I'm going to need a little extra or I'm going to need a little help to get past these things, or at least because it takes me a while. So you may work with one loan officer, they get it in a week. It might take me 2, right? But again, you're not like you're deflecting the work or the change or the effort you need to put in. That's a different story, right? Having those things making me aware. Cause like I deal with that all the time as a coach. I have a lot of people that truly have like, are tech afflicted, right? I guess is the better term to do it, but they do it anyway. It just takes them longer, right? And my job is to help them not get as frustrated with themselves, not because, you know what I mean? Like, so as a coach, that's where I'm sympathetic and empathetic because they're trying to get better. They're trying to do whatever. And what we're talking about is people that use that excuse not to do, but then they're looking for technology or some other shit. And this is what really gets me is then they like pivot into talking about AI. I'm like, you just said you're not techie, but now you're like, I need to know, I need to do AI, but you can't figure out logging into your CRM, right? Like, where are you not making the disconnect? What you've decided is that AI is a trend. It's a shiny new object. So I want to think about that. So you have some juice behind it. So I'm going to take the time to figure it out, right? Or not take the time. At least I'm going to talk about it and put it in my mind as something to figure it out. Whereas like you've already packed it up and given it in on a CRM, like I don't need to know how, I don't know. I can't do this part of it. I can't do that part of it. And none of it is complicated, or super hard, right? Now it may be complicated to you, but here's the thing is that like, and this is what I try to, my best success that I have with coaching originators is when I try to make an analogy based off of something that they deal with as an originator, right? And I say like, look, pricing alone, right? When you guys throw out your, the rate tables, pricing the loans, you're talking about rebates and coupons and shit like that into like all of that stuff, right? Like that shit is like over most people's heads. They don't understand the pricing. They don't understand the rate table, what they're looking at. I don't, because all they care is looking for is like, what's my P&I and my monthly payment? Like, what am I paying? Like, what's coming out of pocket? That's simple for them to connect the dots. You guys figured that out. Right? Like you guys figured out how to use a PPE, right? You guys figured out how to, use an LOS because you had like, you know what I mean? You didn't have a choice. So
yeah. Or a finance calculator, dude. Like
or a finance calculator.
Rectangle calculator.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, and I hate
You're fucking
math,
techie.
Right? Like,
I'm not techie. I don't know how to fucking
yeah,
use that.
Exactly, right? Like you know how to do shit that I don't. So that's why I says like, can you do that? Like, yeah, your numbers and stuff, you're doing the math in your head, right? Like eighth of a point and stuff like that, and you're doing it all in your head. Like, guys, like if you're able to do that shit, then like me showing you how to like launch a campaign in a high level shouldn't be that big of a lift. The thing is that you're not willing to put in the reps like you were to pricing out a loan, understand pricing, understand how to use the PPE, understand how to use the LOS, right? Understand how to run AUS, right? Like you guys put in the reps to do it because that's how you made money. Well, this shit is how you make money too. So put in the reps. Just do it. I'm telling you guys, if you spent an hour, and I'm like, no joke, on a Saturday, and all you did was just launch campaigns, meaning like you did the work. You're not sending anything, but just like going in there, doing the email template, putting it in the thing, and then like knowing that okay, it's great. I just hit send. Okay, great. If you did that for an hour, you would never have to ask how to launch a campaign ever again. But the thing is that you've already made a disconnect. Is like, well, I'm not techie. That's back end stuff. I don't need a guy. So you're already setting yourself up for failure. And right now, just like with the people I help, right? Like I'll tell people straight up. I said, we're not a good fit because like you're not willing to change. You're not willing to do anything different. Someone has told you that because like you shouldn't ever have to do anything you don't want to do. that's okay. And it's not when it's okay if you get, and this is where I always, again, I hate that I have to actually make this distinction. If you are in a great place in your life, you're making the money that you want to make, right? And everything is copacetic, you're good, right? Then do everything that you're doing that makes that life the way it is. But if it's not, then you're going to have to do some fucking change, right? You're going to have to change some shit up. And like,
that's one of the things that I was going to say with this.
Don't want it if you're not willing.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to say with this. I think ultimately it all comes down to a combination of like a level of need and a level of desire, and sometimes your level of desire creates your level of need, right? That's the pinnacle. Like when we learn, when we first get in the mortgage business and we learn all these things that we didn't think that we could learn, a lot of the times our backs are against the wall. It's like we're not, we just changed careers. We don't typically, most people don't change careers from a position of like extreme strength. I know that they're out there, but most people don't. And so most of the time it's like, well, I have no other fucking option. Like I just have to figure this out. Well, the most successful people are going to figure out how to tap into that even when they're not in that situation. The most successful people are going to be able to make themselves feel like they have to and they have no other option, even when they've got a little bit of money in the bank, even when they've got a little bit of runway, coming out of the last boom or whatever it is, or even when they have a little bit of a surplus in budget at the end of the month. It's being able to change that, like, I want to grow, into the feeling of I have to grow, and tapping into that's going to get you back to that spot mentally where you learned how to do all the shit that you didn't think you were going to be able to learn how to do.
Yep. 100%. And so, just to wrap on this, guys, is that it's okay if you have challenges as long as you're willing to work past them, right? Mike's like,
no, it's not.
No, you can't have challenges. You got to be perfect. No, but like, don't want more, right? Don't, like, be okay with where you're at then, right? And there's too many people and there's too many voices out there that are like saying, well, no, you don't, because they take it to the extreme. Oh, it's just more work. You got to wake up earlier. You got to, like, I'm saying that because you just got to find the time. And if you can't find the time from the normal hours that you have in a day, then the only other thing to do is to stay up later or get up earlier. Like, cause you just got to increase the time. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't, and leave everybody else alone, right? Just do your own little world. And that's what is driving me nuts right now, is that we're leaning back to an excuses. And when we're kind of pre-shaping these conversations with all the things that you won't do and can't do, right? Then it's just like, man, you don't need technology. You need a freaking coach, right? You need, you need, or a psychologist or someone to help you pass your limiting beliefs. Okay. You need
like Red my coach, Foreman.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to someone, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking about being coached, as a kid. And I'm like, man, most of those coaches, like I said, those coaches would not survive. Like a Bobby Knight could not be a coach today. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's like my coach, I'm like, I'm talking like, when I say like foot and ass, I'm like, I mean, literal, like, put their foot and kicked me in the butt, right? Like, physically. And that's like, now some people are like, well, that's never, guys, look, like that's, it's all different times, but it's like, I was happy for that because, it's a shock to the system for sure. Right. And then when that happens, it gets you to pay attention. It's just the same thing with cursing for me. Right. It's like, it's like with kids, right? You're like, hey, close the door, close the door. Close the door, close the fucking door. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't do that, but like, you know what I mean? But like when you're like, whoa, I do. Right. Like well, my daughter's a teenager now. So I say, close the effing door or something like that, but like, I try not to with my kids, but I mean, they hear it anyway, but like, but the point is that like, you know what I mean? That's a shock to the system. And like, why are you cursing? Like, cause you didn't listen to the respectful times that I said it until I said, man, cut the shit out. Then they know like, hey, all right, there's a little emotion, a little anger involved. So I'm going to do something a little different. And so with all of you out there, look, what we're going through now and what we're going to continue to go through. And this is a totally different call, but like some of you are absolutely spinning yourselves into fantasy land right now, what's going on right now. But with everything that's going on, guys, like, the industry's hard enough. This business, it, right? This business is hard enough. You're going to get punched. You're going to get slapped, body slammed, right? Emotion, frustration, anxiety, name it, right? Stress, All of it, right? That's the business. The last thing you need is to pile on with your own shit. You know what I mean? Like the last thing you need is to talk yourself out, add limiting beliefs on top of it. It's hard enough. Don't make it harder on yourself, right? Do not make it harder on yourself. Michael, what do you got to wrap?
That's it, dude. Just like I said, and what is all I've got. All I've got is at the end of the day, like it's all real. I'm not saying that it's not real. I'm not saying like
Yeah,
I mean shit,
absolutely.
people like have some of the worst things to happen to them that like any of us can imagine. But for every
Mhm.
person that gets paralyzed by that, there's somebody that uses it as motivation to grow and do something amazing. And so like at the end of the day, it's like there will be people and I'll be one of them. I'll be one of those people that's like sympathetic and feels bad for you and says, "Man, yeah, that totally sucks." You would so be justified to just lay in bed all day. But at the end of the day, like what the hell does that do for you? And so
Yep. Yep.
that's really, just going back to that, that's all I can really say about what gets me through those kind of feelings.
Yeah. To sum it up, what Michael just said is that Frazier's an asshole and Michael's a nice guy, right? So that's okay. So like when I make you angry, you can go to Uncle Mike and he'll tuck you in at night. So there we go.
My kids would disagree wholeheartedly.
All right, my friends. Well, this has been another great episode of the MLO Project. Make sure to share this with your friends and any people that are okay with not suitable for work content. Share this with your friends and give us a review on Apple, on Spotify. Leave us a comment. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. We hope you guys have an amazing day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.